Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this evening, so let's begin. First up, Judge Rule's lawsuit related to Randolph motorcycle crash can proceed. Partner of crash victim sues trucking company. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Ray Brewer.
The New Hampshire Department of Corrections has immediate openings for corrections officers. Apply today.
The lawsuit is seeking damages for emotional distress. A memorial now marks the spot where 7 riders, including Albert Mazza, lost their lives back on June 21st of last year. Vladimir Zukovsky, an employee of Westfield Transport at the time, has been charged and pleaded not guilty in the case. In seeking to dismiss the suit, the lawyer for the company said in part, "It is not reasonable that Westfield's hiring and employment of Mr. Zukovsky proximately caused the collision, from which her purported emotional injury flows." In rejecting that argument, the judge noted Zukovsky's long history of motor vehicle violations, including 2 arrests for drunken driving, concluding that Westfield either knew or should have known about Mr. Zukovsky's dangerous history behind the wheel, adding that purported negligence in hiring Mr. Zukovsky was the proximate cause of the collision. The trucking company also claimed that a New Hampshire Supreme Court decision limiting liability to bystanders who suffer emotional harm applies in this case. But the judge said that's a misreading of the decision, and that the person bringing the suit does not have to actually witness the accident happen, just be close enough to the collision to hear it happen and see its immediate aftermath. And she perceived Mr. Mazza was injured in the crash. Thus, the judge concluded the negligence claim can proceed. We did reach out to lawyers for both sides, but the plaintiff's lawyer was not available, and calls to the trucking company went unanswered. In the newsroom, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Victim of Hooksett pedestrian crash identified. Driver charged with driving after license suspension, police say. Police have released the identity of the pedestrian who was killed in a crash Wednesday in Hooksett. Hooksett police said Para Champagne, 43, died of injuries suffered when she was struck by a vehicle Wednesday afternoon. The driver of the vehicle, Adam Finley Taylor, 44, was arrested and charged with driving after revocation or suspension after police learned that his license had been suspended. Police said the crash is still under investigation and they don't know whether the driver will face additional charges. Tamworth sled dog race canceled because of warm winter. Organizers say they might consider changing location in future. The annual Tamworth sled dog race that was scheduled for this weekend has been canceled because of warm weather. Organizers said the decision to cancel the race was made after Monday's warm temperatures. The annual event has been canceled many times recently, although it was held last year. Organizers told New Hampshire Public Radio that as winter continues to get warmer, they might consider moving the race to a new location. Downed power line forces Manchester Community College to close. Manchester Community College was closed Thursday because of downed power lines, officials said. The campus lost power when lines came down, college officials said. Eversource crews were working to repair the problem, and the college said it should reopen at 4 p.m. And let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Thursday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you. Dow plunges 1,100 points, bringing its decline from a record high to more than 10%. Stocks fell sharply in volatile trading Thursday as investors worried the coronavirus may be spreading in the U.S. A slew of corporate and analyst warnings on the virus dragged down the major wagers, tipping them into connection territory. Democratic candidates fight for South Carolina. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Politics now, the race for the White House. Just 2 days until the next votes, this time in South Carolina. Frontrunner Bernie Sanders hoping to keep his momentum, but Joe Biden looking for his first big win on the heels of nabbing a crucial endorsement from one of the state's leading figures, Congressman Jim Clyburn. Mary Bruce is live in Charleston with the state of the race this morning. Mary, good morning.
Good morning, Tom. Well, this is a make-or-break moment for Joe Biden, but this morning he is confident that he is the one to beat here on Saturday. The big question then is, will it make a difference? Will it be enough to propel him to other big wins, or is it simply too late to derail Bernie Sanders? This morning in South Carolina, with less than 48 hours to go, Joe Biden is promising a comeback as he fends off frontrunner Bernie Sanders.
I promise you this. If you send me out of South Carolina with a victory, there will be no stopping us.
Biden is counting on support from African-American voters to deliver his first win. The former vice president getting a boost from South Carolina's most powerful Democrat, Congressman Jim Clyburn.
I know Joe. We know Joe. But most importantly, Joe knows us.
The big question, will it be enough to stall Sanders' momentum? He says Biden doesn't have what it takes to go the distance.
Joe is a friend of mine and a decent guy, but that is not the voting record or the history that is going to excite people, bring them into the political process, and beat Trump.
Now, this morning, the candidates are already looking beyond South Carolina to those delegate-rich states that are up for grabs on Super Tuesday. Many of them launching new multi-million-dollar national ad buys and already moving on to campaign more aggressively in those states. Tom?
It is crunch time in this race. All right, Mary, thank you. As she just mentioned, the South Carolina primary. Right after that comes Super Tuesday, 16 contests, essentially a national primary. George will be anchoring our special coverage with our political team starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. Hi.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. They'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye, everyone.